police force. So you can imagine what is happening to their families. Of course, we demand for justice even for those police officers who did their work, and this is what happened to them. You all know that our deputy president in charge of Uganda is in detention. We were at the court the other day to follow up on that case. Thankfully, the juveniles, the two children, were released on bail. But you can imagine the pain and the suffering which all these people are charged together with him are going through. Of course, talking about Butambala, you cannot fail to talk about the 7 people. According to some accounts, there are even more people who were killed at the home of Honorable Mwanga Chivumbi. And there is nobody who has been charged with any offenses related to those murders. They are just charging our people with terrorism and other, fake charges. But the real victims of Butambala are actually those people who were shot and killed at that home. So that is just a reflection to show that people like Comrade Wise who are in detention and who continue to go through a lot of pain and all that, it's simply because they love their country and want Uganda to be better. They have not committed any offense to be taken through that. You all know, and I said this at the burial of Sister Edith, that everybody thought that after stopping the trials of civilians in military courts, we would see justice in the ordinary courts. But you can imagine that the behaviors of the military courts were transplanted into the civilian courts, such that even when fake charges are brought and the regime says, why so now we are charging you with unlawful drilling, it doesn't matter whether you were at Kabule on that day or not. It doesn't even matter whether that is an offense or not. They will hold on to you until orders come from above to indicate that. So, friends, the other things we want to talk about are, 1, this animal called trade order. Trade order. All of you have seen the demolitions going on around the country of different properties, especially of poor people. We want to condemn this in the strongest terms possible. As a National Unity Platform, we believe in development. We want our country to become better. But we also believe that development must be planned. You don't wake up one day, give people insufficient notice, and then come and start demolishing their property. But also, very importantly, that this is being done in a discriminatory manner. All of you have seen that the demolitions are targeting especially the low-income earners, the poor people, not the well-to-do people. We all know big buildings, hotels, whatever, which are built in road reserves. The regime is not going for those. They are specifically going for people who are very poor and without even giving them alternatives. You all remember when they came to Kampala and said they were chasing away the vendors and all that. We said that all of us agree that there should be order in the city. But what alternatives have you put in place for these poor people? Where do you want them to go? And when they turn into criminals and start, waylaying people at night, people start complaining. But if, so we believe that the country must have a planning system. You don't wake up one day and say, now we don't want these people here, chase them without giving them any alternatives. Now they're demolishing people's properties without giving them sufficient notice. You've been seeing these people crying out, saying at least give us 3 months to plan where we shall go. But they come and say within 3 weeks. That is if they've given them a lot of time, because sometimes they give them only 3 days. And they come and demolish all the properties of these people. So we condemn that in the strongest terms possible. And as a National Unity Platform, say that we stand with the local people, with those poor people across the country who are going through these things. And especially condemn the discriminatory manner in which it is being done. We believe that people must be equal before and under the law. You cannot wake up and start doing things the way you want. Number 2, all of you have so far seen General Museveni giving out 100 million shillings. They said they had given them 20 and they are going to give them more to members of parliament of the NRM who were at Shankwanzi. Should we all say shame? It's very, very unfortunate that, you know, initially, you remember it is the NUP which first broke the story of 40 million shillings in the last cycle. And everybody was shocked. Parliament came out and said, no, this is a lie. Because it was very, very shameful. Nobody could believe that people could just be given money without following any process, without following any procedure. You just get money and gift it to members of parliament. Moreover, members of parliament, as you all know, are some of the highest paid officials in Uganda. So everybody else is struggling. They are telling everybody that, you know, the country does not have money, they are increasing taxes, but they are busy getting taxpayers' money and dishing out to officials who are already well paid. So when the 40 million shilling bribe first came out, even parliament spokespersons came out and said, this is ridiculous, it cannot happen. After that, there was another story which NUP broke. 50 million had been given out. We came here and condemned it, and parliament was tight-lipped. Then 100 million shillings during the coffee bill and then the UPDF amendment. Again, we came and spoke here. At that time, General Museveni came out and wrote a letter and admitted it, but not directly. He said that's classified budget to keep Uganda secure, blah, 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 all that he wrote. So everybody has been denying, but now, shamelessly, he can stand on a microphone like this and say, I am giving, without going through any processes. These are people who have not even been sworn in, and he says, I've given you this money. Now, all of you know that if these are 400 MPs, we are talking about 40 billion shillings. 40 billion shillings. All of you know that Chirudu, or this hospital in Kawempe here, the referral hospitals, were built at 37 and 40 billion shillings respectively. So those people, in the last parliament, you can imagine how many hospitals were shared by the MPs. Now, they are sharing another full hospital. Don't we say shame? I mean, it is ridiculous. Sometimes you wonder what to say about this country. That now these are people, and maybe that brings me to another point. All of you know, we called you here and told you about LC elections. We called you again and talked about LC elections. LC elections require 52 billion. That is the amount of money which they said is required to organize LC elections. Up to now, when we talk to the Electoral Commission, they say there is no money. That's why the elections for LCs haven't been organized yet. But Museveni is giving out 40 billion shillings to MPs. Does it make sense? That you say you don't have money to organize LC elections? All of us who moved with our president at some point during his campaigns saw the level of poverty across the country. You saw, you journalists were with our president, you moved across this country. You saw how our people are suffering without water. You remember the kinds of roads in the outskirts of this country. You know the situation in the hospitals without drugs. You go around the country and see these pupils who do not have desks, where teachers share toilets with pupils. But people who are already well paid are being given money. Now I saw that election thief, the one who grabbed her victory in Kampala Central, Misa Kawanda. You saw her? She was saying this is Museveni's money, Simanyi sold cows. Should I really say shame to her also? Obutaswala owekitalo. That Museveni went and sold his cows, and so she should, I don't think she knows even how to count anything except stolen votes. But if you want to, you do math, assuming every cow is, 3 million shillings or 2 million shillings. Now she's saying that Museveni, how many cows did he sell to get all the billions to give to the MPs? It's ridiculous. This is a man who always tells us that he earned 3 million shillings. You know that. So you say you earn 3 million, and then you send those people who come to say that, this is his personal money. I mean, it's ridiculous to say the least. So, but also maybe my final point, and I don't want to discount what happened. I think that is why the people of Uganda need to take these things very serious. We went around the country telling them to vote, not leave polling stations, and to defend their victory. Now, some of those people tried, and maybe because of the violence, also what happened here in Kampala and other places. But there are some people who always take these things very lightly. But people need to start understanding that politics is not a joke. That politics is what determines how you live and actually how you die. Politics determines how you are born, how you live your life, and how you are born, and how you eventually die. That is why in some countries the life expectancy is higher than others, simply because of the question of politics and governance. So we implore our people to start taking these matters more serious than that. I remember in 2021, when our president was campaigning, he told the people of Uganda that 5 years of Museveni meant 5 years of more corruption, meant 5 more years of retrogression, meant 5 more years of our children dying, children dying young, of mothers dying while giving birth, and all these things. So here we are, the regime is having stolen this particular election. They have started on that exactly. What was even annoying was that the speeches which came from Chankwanzi, this is a man who was telling these people that you should avoid being corrupt. And then he crowns up the retreat with a grand corruption scheme. Ridiculous. Pasebo ne banyabo tubebaza olw'okujja mu kusasira